Hello, everybody, and
Hi.
welcome back to another Beyond the Forecast podcast. I'm Chief Meteorologist Michael Stevens,
I'm meteorologist Haley Fischetti.
and yes, there's 30 seconds left, but we're going to talk you through this 30 seconds. So we don't have, that nice little elevator music playing yet.
We should.
We do
get
need
into
to get some
that.
Beyond the Forecast podcast music for you.
Yeah.
Just the song that we have for an intro on loop. Drive everybody insane.
Just like on good day.
Pretty much, yeah. So welcome, everybody. We appreciate you being here.
Yes.
We will show our faces in 10 seconds. The countdown.
We really hold to this this timer pretty tightly.
The timer is the timer. So welcome, everybody.
Yes.
Appreciate
Hi.
y'all being here. Episode 3.
We made it.
We made it. We are talking about fire danger and wildfire safety and everything fire related
Why?
this week. Why? Why is it a big deal? So yeah, welcome. That is what we're going to be discussing in the podcast today. Next week, next Monday, we will put out a topic for you to vote on because next week is a free week.
Yes.
It's where we kind of have a little bit of everything for you.
Yeah. Ice storms again? We'll talk about it.
Ice storms, yeah. In fact, we do have a really good interview with John. Meteorologist John Gross sat down and talked to the Mackinac Bridge Authority.
Yeah, that was really good.
About closing the bridge and what it takes and why it was closed for so long with ice. So we'll have that coming up for you next week.
Yeah.
Oh, we just got to get it edited. But this week we're focusing on, spring and fire season.
Yes.
It's coming. It doesn't even matter if you get rain. There's a lot of dead winter stuff out there.
Speaking of the ice storms, the amount of limbs that fell off from those trees and everything.
Not to mention.
That is just fuel.
Yep. So that is kind of what we're discussing this week, the safety of it, prepping for it, because as we saw over the last few months, wildfires don't care where they're at.
No.
They'll blow through. California is a prime example of that.
100%, yeah.
North Carolina, South Carolina, prime examples of that. So before we get started, though, we had a really good idea. Every day, Haley asks us question of the week.
Yes, I
or
do.
question of the day,
Question of the day.
And she goes around the office, asks somebody a question, and we have to give our
Response.
2 cents. So what is today's question, Haley?
So today's question is actually submitted by Bill Freilich.
Bill Freilich, okay.
He said, if you don't have a question, I have a question. I said, okay, Bill. It was your favorite food court restaurant.
Ooh.
So here's the thing. While you're thinking, I'll tell you mine.
Okay.
I actually have 3 responses because I have different scenarios. So this might change your answer a little bit.
Okay.
For eating, childhood nostalgia is Burger King. I know you can get that everywhere, but like in my mind, when my family would go to the mall, we would get Burger King. So that's in my head. To shop around and just like do my errands. Pretzels. Auntie Annie's was a pretzel.
Yeah.
I don't care. The little nugget ones though, the ones in the cup.
Yep.
And then
Pretzel bites.
for desserts, Dairy Queen.
Okay. Orange Julius.
I would get a
Orange
Blizzard.
Julius?
I would get a Blizzard.
If you're watching, feel free to give us
I
your
want the comments.
food court favorite food court.
Yes.
So as a kid, going to the food court, there was restaurants in there for us here in Michigan that we didn't have anywhere else. So Sbarro.
That's what a lot of people have been saying, Sbarro.
Sbarro is a big one. For me, a food court, though, is always Chinese food.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what Chinese food restaurant it is. It's always Chinese food.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
I would go with Chinese.
That's what Rachel said, too.
I always hit up the Chinese. It's either that or Sbarro.
Yeah, those are good answers.
Yeah, that was mine.
Yeah, when I was a teenager, it switched to Chinese food. But by the time I was a teenager, the malls started to get outdated. So you didn't really go to the mall as much anymore. So I miss the Chinese food phase.
I haven't been to the mall in a long time.
That's what I'm doing this weekend. Not to continue to go on our tangent. That's what
Sbarro's
sparks the conversation. Is going down to Lansing.
Oh.
And I said, I want a mall day.
I was just in Detroit, too. Should have stopped at the mall.
Just up to the mall. But yeah, let us know. Favorite food court restaurant.
Yeah.
Also your weather questions.
Weather questions. Let's talk about fire danger
Yes.
and wildfire safety.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're coming out of winter. Might not feel like it just yet, but we're coming out of winter. It is April 8th.
Yeah.
And we're still getting some flurries, but They don't last long. We still have the dead grass out there.
Yeah, it's
and
all right.
The woods are starting to wake up, which means all of the dead leaves, the branches, everything that has been just sitting there dead is drying out, and we have fire season coming up. So let's talk about prescribed burns first.
Yes.
Because I just heard on the radio they're doing a big old prescribed burn at the Sleeping Bear Dunes.
Okay.
Something like 1,700 acres or
Wow.
something like that. But prescribed burns are actually a good thing.
Yes.
It actually returns Earth and Mother Nature to a state of regrowth and new life, and it keeps the potential for wildfires down. A lot of people might get prescribed burns mixed up with other things like clearing and
deforestation.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I think that's where a mix-up happens with a lot of people. But prescribed burns are essentially a way for Mother Nature to restart and then regrow. And one prime example of that, my good buddy that I went to high school with, played hockey with, he's the main biologist for the Wild Turkey Federation.
Cool.
And they helped in Baldwin. They took a big swath of land where there was this butterfly that was endangered species. And it's like the main spot for this butterfly.
Got it.
It's I think it's called the blue corner butterfly or something like
Okay.
that. Anyway, they were down to just a few hundred, and they got this land in Baldwin and swept it through, prescribed burned it.
Yeah.
And they returned it to these savannas of hundreds of years ago.
Wow.
And the butterfly thrived. They have wildfires there that they haven't seen in years upon years.
Wow.
And so, when you take back the land to what it should have been many, many years ago, because all these forests that you see in Michigan, they were planted and overtook. Like, a lot of hunters might think, hey, these woods are great for hunting. Not necessarily.
No.
It's just overgrowth. So when you return it back to what it natively is, you start getting native species back.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of prescribed burns do, but at the same time keeps that threat of wildfire
Exactly.
down.
The best way, we were taught it in school, and the way I remember it, it's almost like when you get a haircut.
Yep.
And you have dead ends.
Yep.
The prescribed burns are kind of just cutting your dead ends off.
Yeah.
It's all the dead stuff that you don't rake, you don't clean up, you kind of just leave year after year. And that's just a widespread of it. I actually talked to the program manager for the Lower Peninsula, Jeff Vassar, last Friday, and he said just that prescribed burns are everything but okay. It is a good thing to do.
Right.
It's helping the landscape. It's helping animals.
Yep.
A lot of the time, the deer, the turkey, all the wild animals that we have, those burns actually help. And it goes through a bigger process than you actually think it does. It's way more of it's not just we're deciding to burn here one day. It is it's a week's process of why they're going to do this. Sometimes a year process of they have it on the list already of what they're going to hit.
Right.
So it's sometimes people feel like it's just why are they burning this random field? We've been on this.
Yeah, there's science behind it. And I my hunting stomping grounds used to be over in Alcona County,
right,
on federal land, and every 10 years or so they'll go through and burn these fields before they grow up and become an kind of overarching forest. But they'll keep it down because there's animals out there that need that. Kirtland warblers are prime example. They literally live in the dead, burnt trees over in Roscommon and Alcona counties, and that's the only spot in the world where that's their home.
Yeah, that's where they thrive.
And they thrive in those burnt down kind of regrowing areas. So there are reasons and science behind prescribed burns.
Yes.
And it's good. It's not bad. By any means, it's not they're clearing things and just burning it to the ground.
And they're bye, good luck. No, there's a reason for it.
Yes. So prescribed burns are a big part of how we keep wildfire management in control.
But when we talk about that when we say prescribed burns, it doesn't mean just anyone can go do it.
No, not
that is a
means.
DNR specialty, federal government sanctioned thing to do.
Yeah.
When we are burning,
forestry,
as us common folk,
we
have to be extremely careful when burning. Burn permits. We in the next couple of weeks we'll start showing those more and more, especially if the weather keeps on turning the way it's going, looking warm, or at least average.
So today's Tuesday.
Yes.
Every week, and we'll have a segment on this week, we look at the drought monitor.
Yes.
The drought monitor comes out every Thursday, and it doesn't necessarily reflect like the most recent rains, if you will. It's usually a little bit laggy.
Like the one that we currently have.
Right. And right now,
count.
Good news is, which you'll see coming up in our, I think it's tomorrow.
I think so too.
The board's sitting right there. I can look at it.
Yeah,
we have
tomorrow.
A big whiteboard with all of Beyond the Forecast
segments.
Yeah, segments.
It's tomorrow.
It is tomorrow.
Tomorrow's C block.
Is it?
Yeah. After something safety.
Oh, Thursdays.
Thursday. Oh.
Today is Tuesday.
Today's my Friday, so I'm really all messed up.
Right. Maybe we'll put it in tomorrow. We'll figure it out. But anyway,
you'll see it this week.
Looking at, and I'll put it up on the screen if you watch the edited version of this. The drought monitor right now, the UP and tip of the mitt is great. They have no dry conditions.
Do you know why? Because all the snow that we have.
Yeah, all the snow and all the ice and everything all mixed together.
Everything's melting.
Right. And then Traverse City down to Cadillac, kind of up towards Presque County, is abnormally dry.
Yep.
It is still moderate for the Lake Huron shoreline and much of the central lower. And then Midland Bay, Saginaw counties, they are in a severe drought right now.
Which makes sense because they fueled a lot of the lake effect snow to get us a lot of the moisture this year for the UP and tip of the Met. We talked about in our first podcast together how, well, you can't account for lake effect snow to give you all the moisture. The snow that we saw this year
didn't have a whole lot of moisture in it.
No, but it was a lot of snow that we got.
Right.
So it helped balance it out.
Right.
Areas on the Lake Huron shoreline missed out on that lake effect snow.
Oh, yes, very much so.
So while they were already in a drought last year,
right,
they're now even more in a drought.
Because they went in dry, they're coming back out dry.
Exactly.
And for us, like Cadillac, Traverse City, I mean, we saw 3 inches of rain 2 weeks ago. So 3 inches of rain is going to leave a pretty big dent.
Which is why we have to wait until probably next week's drought
Thursdays
monitor.
will probably come back with not even abnormally dry for some of us on the west side. Because we did get a lot of rain with that ice storm. The ice storm north, we saw a lot of rain. So that was very good in the sense of dry. Return some of that moisture. But yeah, the drought monitor is what we look at. And also that is what the DNR and National Weather Service look at when issuing burn permits.
Right.
Obviously, the conditions of the day as well. Some might think, hey, how do you get red flag warnings? Or how do you know what goes into fire weather? So there's a few ingredients that you want to really pay attention to if you have plans of saying, you know, burning the yard down or ditches. I know my dad and I, my dad grew up in Merrill down in Saginaw County, and they have big ditches where all the fields are. And we would go in there and rake the ditches and then burn them.
Right,
and so keep the growth down. And like if that's something you want to do, rake the yard and burn it, like it's fine to do that. Just make sure the conditions are good. And just make sure you have burn permits or they're being issued for your county. Because if we have windy conditions,
we do in the spring.
Oh, yes, very windy. I mean, it's been windy all winter, let alone going into spring. If we have very dry conditions, low humidity levels. That is fuel. So there's a triangle that you can think of when it comes to fire. It's called the fire triangle. The 3 things that need for fire to burn, right? You need fuel, you need dry conditions, and then the last one is
wind.
Oxygen.
Oxygen,
So oxygen, fuel, and dry conditions.
Yeah.
So if you have windy conditions on a very dry, very lack of moisture in the air day, that is where you're more than likely going to see red flags fly up. Red flag warnings in Michigan, the DNR and National Weather Service partner together to issue those. And they're looking at low relative humidity levels, usually below 30%. You're looking at temperatures usually 70 degrees or warmer. And then you're looking at wind gusts upwards of 25, 30 miles per hour.
And when I talked to Jeff about that, I learned something that I didn't even know. Those are days in advance warnings.
Right.
Those aren't when you see tornado warnings, severe thunderstorm
Right,
warnings.
those are happening
all
right now.
like the winter weather advisories. Those are at most 24 hours. The winter weather advisories are 24 hours at most.
Yeah.
Everything else is happening in 15 minutes,
Right.
an hour mark. Red flag warnings, Jeff was telling me that they are meeting every day for stuff happening 2 to 3 days in advance.
Correct.
So which was a shock to me because we're so of the right here, right now mind when it comes to weather. So to know that there's a department out there who are kind of like, well, no, but let's talk about what the winds look like in a couple of days. It's very interesting to hear from that point of view that they kind of already know when a red flag's going to pop up for us.
And I think that's where people get mixed up with watches and warnings.
Yeah.
Because we'll have a fire weather watch and then red flag warnings.
Yeah, and a fire weather watch can last a week at a time because it's just that's the conditions.
And so if you look back at everything we've told you, watches means, conditions are right to possibly spawn some of what we're watching. Warning means it is happening or conditions are right for it to happen.
We got the ingredients and it's happening.
Right. So, as John has
the tacos.
The taco watch and taco warnings.
Yeah.
Taco watch means you have the ingredients laid out. Taco warning means tacos are ready to be eaten.
Right.
So if you look at a watch, the ingredients are there. A warning means
it's happening.
It's happening.
Yeah.
So with fire or red flag warnings, it means those conditions are in place and happening. It doesn't necessarily mean fire is happening, but if it does, it could be an explosive situation.
Right.
That's why red flag warnings aren't necessarily saying it's happening now. The conditions are happening now.
Yeah.
But the fire weather watch means the conditions could lead to red flag warning, which could lead to
fires.
So that is red flag warning and fire weather watch is just a little bit different than tornado warning, tornado watch, severe thunderstorm warning, severe thunderstorm watch.
Exactly.
But those all come via the DNR and National Weather Service working hand in hand. And sometimes conditions are like skirting the line, and you'll usually see a red flag warning come even if it doesn't necessarily meet all of the criteria.
Right.
You'll see them skirt the line because
if it's super
2%
windy,
of humidity could make all the difference in the world.
100%, yeah.
So that is going to be they're a little bit more flexible on throwing that warning out than say a tornado warning.
I agree, yeah. It's kind of like if you ever go on the National Weather Service website, you always see a hazardous outlook warning on effect.
Yep.
And you click it and you're kind of like, what does this mean? And you just realize it's the weather. It's like pretty much just the weather. Yeah. That's what it is.
The weather.
It's pretty much weather's happening right now and it could be dangerous.
Yep.
It
could be dangerous.
As it always is. That's kind of like what those fire warnings are. It's kind of like when we hit that season and those conditions, expect them just to kind of be around.
So if you guys have any questions about fire weather or dry conditions or anything that has to do with fire weather, feel free to put them in the comments and we can discuss and talk about them. But we appreciate y'all being here. This is the live Beyond the Forecast podcast.
Yes.
And if you're watching it later, it was live.
Yeah. We were live.
But this week we are focusing on Beyond the Forecast about dry conditions, fire danger, fire weather, and everything that goes along with it with wildfire safety. Because we are coming out of winter. We're coming into spring.
I might not feel like it, but I promise we are.
We are. But trust us, it'll get warmer at some point.
One of these days.
One of these days. So yeah, we've talked about prescribed burns. We've talked about kind of red flag warnings and all the dry conditions. Let's talk about what you should do if there's a wildfire kind of encroaching on your neck of the woods. Because in Michigan, we do have a lot of rural spots. But at the same time, a lot of people drive through northern Michigan. And fire, we've had it in the past, tends to jump major highways. It doesn't care where you're at. Fire will move and take over regardless of the situation.
The elements, when we say the water goes the path of the least resistance, fire doesn't care.
Fire doesn't care about the path. It'll just kind of take over. So
if it can go, it will.
Some of the best things you can do is stay tuned to what is happening, weather-wise, also on the DNR sites and forestry sites. Because if there is an outbreak, a wildfire that does start up which, by the way, wildfires can start with a week later after a lightning bolt.
Yeah.
Like it did
If
up towards Grayling.
Yeah.
Smoldering in the tree. So what can you do? The best thing to do is just up and get out.
Yeah.
If it is encroaching on your place and there's no sign of the DNR having a handle on it, have a good to-go bag ready to go. And if that means if you're, say, in Grayling, driving to Gaylord, or in
driving
Lewiston,
away, like
driving
just driving
to
away
Presqu'île,
from the fire, yeah.
Wherever you can hunker down for a day or two. Hopefully it's only a day or two. Sometimes these last a long time.
Yeah.
But somewhere you can go to be safe and have power and, chill. If you're one of those spots where you do lose power, best to grab what you need and, again, just kind of take off in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not always an option, but that is the best thing to do when it comes to wildfires encroaching on your spot.
Yeah.
The worst thing you can do is, stay and think I'm going to fight
I would
this
say
with my hose. That's not the case.
It sounds don't be a hero.
No.
When it comes to fires like that, I mean, we learned about the Paradise fires in California when I was in college, and there were so many just sad, tragic stories of people just wanting to stay and keep their house and try to be a hero and save it all, which all respect to them, but it didn't end good.
No.
I mean, you got to, if you have time, luckily, the way things are now with fires and luckily the way Michigan is too, with how we kind of suspect them here in northern Michigan, we have a good handle on where fires are at kind of far away. So if you have any inkling that you're in a 30-mile radius of a fire,
Right.
you could hose technically your lawn and hope that could saturate enough and then leave.
Yeah. I mean, there is ways that you can protect it. I think the biggest thing to do is think about the things that you want to do. One, have a plan. We always say have a plan. This is one that you need to have a plan.
Yes.
Will you use a plan? More than likely not. But you know what? Once you have that plan in place and something does happen, hey, you have a plan.
You'll be
stick
happy
to it,
about
do
it.
it.
Yeah.
And the best thing to do is all right, think about what you need to do. You need to have, if you have pets, load them in the car. Kids, you, the wife,
Pets first.
Yeah, and make sure you have to-go bags, whether it's overnight bags or a day bag, whatever it is, make sure you have those.
Some clothes, medications.
Some food, like I have granola bars sitting here. Granola bars are always a good way to go.
100%.
Ways that chargers, so you're not going to be losing power. You can always power things up in the car. Worst case scenario, you're sitting in the car for 8 hours, but you can charge things. You have a way of getting around.
And you're safe. Yeah.
If you have that plan in place, that's a perfect way to be ready. If you don't have a plan, then it starts becoming an overwhelming thing, and it's like, hey, what do I have to do? And then
you're panicking, and then
things start getting forgotten or lost, and it's just not going to work out.
And then it's too late, because when a fire is moving, we've seen it that it doesn't stop, and you think, 15 miles away doesn't sound like a lot until the winds pick up at 40 miles per hour in your direction, and the fire just goes, okay, we're going that fast now too.
Yeah.
Then 15 miles is minutes compared to hours. And that's where you do just have to hop in your car and go.
And that's where, having a plan in place will be the best thing you can possibly do. That's kind of an idea. It's not always going to be a perfect scenario. I'm not saying having a plan is going to be the end-all be-all perfect situation for you, because some fires can pop up and just engulf and surround. And if that's the case, that is where
do the best you can.
The firefighters are getting to you in a timely fashion, and they usually do.
Yes.
But that's a no-joke situation. And that's what we are trying to spread awareness with fire weather and dry conditions and the awareness of it.
That's why we say weather prepared in all different situations. It's just when the changing of the seasons happen, it's best to be prepared for anything that can happen. 2 weeks ago, we just did severe weather preparedness, and we told you a bunch of things to be prepared for that.
Yep.
And then this week, we're telling you just to be prepared for another type of weather, which
Spring.
they kind of do overlap in a way. Like if you already have all your documents and stuff and all your medications or spare stuff in a tote for your severe weather, that means you can just take that tote and throw it in your trunk, and that's half your packing.
And that's a good point, is if you don't have one, invest in a small fire safe.
Yes.
We have one in my house, and like it's for those important documents. Social Security cards, birth certificates, things that you want to keep safe. I think my wife has her pearl necklace from our wedding in there.
Yeah.
Just stuff that is very important to you. And really, if you do lose something, you want to have those.
Yes.
Insurance policies, things like that. Make sure those are in a fire safe. And if a fire for some reason does come through, at least those are safe, and you don't have to worry about them. So like you don't have to pack those up and have them necessarily, or keep them in a day bag and they're like, where's all this? No, they can be in a safe, and there's they will always be there. But yeah, I think the biggest thing that in northern Michigan especially, because we are so rural, for people like Heather and Levels, or for people like Terry and Atlanta, where you might be in a more rural spot that is more prone to these wildfires.
Yeah.
Because, again, you have to think of winds. Downsloping winds are always the worst.
Which is that area.
And southwest winds in the summer, usually. Grayling, Gaylord, northeast corner of the Lower Peninsula, eastern half of the Lower Peninsula. Those are usually the areas that are prone to these types of fires outbreaking. And then eastern UP, same thing. Those spots that are heavily wooded tend to see that spring kill and just fuel ready for the ignition. So just be mindful if you're going camping and it's dry.
Yes.
Just be smart. A lot of camping areas will be like, yeah, you can have a fire. Just, if you go somewhere, put it out, make sure it's done.
Out. Yeah.
If you're camping and you don't have a fire ring, create a fire ring and don't get out of hand with a fire. If it is dry, don't go out there and have a bonfire that's out of control by any means.
Exactly.
Just enjoy. Just be smart about it, And that's, I think, what a lot of DNR and forestry and our good buddy Smokey is telling you is just be smart about it.
Yeah, and that's what Jeff said, too, when I interviewed him. I asked him at the end of the interview, like, do you have any advice for people as we head into the spring and summer months, people after this long winter, trying to get out and enjoy this nice weather that we will be having? What's your advice? And he said that make sure if you are going to have a fire, make sure it's controlled. Make sure you know what you're doing. If you're kids, teenagers, making sure there's an adult nearby. Staying on standby that they have to hang out with you. But if you're in your backyard having a bonfire, making sure a parent's close by and they know you're having a fire. So if things get out of hand, someone's close to call 911. And then when you're done, he says he tells little kids, make it like a muddy puddle. So hose it. Get buckets, anything you can, and make all of that broken wood, all the dirt that you were just on, mud. And that will kill the fire. Because the last thing you want is for it to smolder.
Right. I mean, I have I have a fun little experiment today in the show called the candle jump. And it's really cool because you can see the flame. You blow out a candle and you bring a candle close and you can see the flame jump to the wick again. And the reason that's happening is because of the vapors. So when a fire goes out, it's not completely out. There's vapors in that smoke that will reignite if a flame's close enough. So even if you think you've put it out and you see it smoking, it's not necessarily out.
No.
Because a flame getting close to that, it could just reignite. So you have to remember to be very cautious when it comes to putting a fire out. Just take 5 minutes, cover it up, make sure it's done good, and that will be the best thing. I love being in the fishbowl because everybody walks by and they think they're like, what's going on?
Dan just got back, our news director, so he's
had 8 weeks off. Yeah.
He's never seen one of these live before.
No,
now he's curious.
So everybody comes through like, what's going on in there? That is kind of our little bit of fire weather and conditions and things need to be kind of aware of. And it is already 33 minutes in, so
time flies
when you're talking about important things.
Talking about weather.
And so if anybody has questions out there, feel free to log them down there in the comments or below. And if you're watching this after the fact, log them down below and we'll respond,
we can respond to them
when we see them. So, again, I think that's pretty much done for this week's podcast. We appreciate you all being here, watching. Excuse me.
Oh, you okay?
Hopefully, I'm dying. Hopefully everybody learned a little bit of something with Beyond the Forecast so far, and especially into Fire Weather Week. We'll have more amazing interviews and more segments for you coming up on the Beyond the Forecast Facebook page, on the web page, everything that encompasses this show. Yeah. And we'll have another podcast for you guys next week.
Yes.
Next
a
week,
free-for-all.
we will have on the Beyond the Forecast Facebook page, we will have, and really all the socials, we'll have topics for you to vote on, because next week is a free week where we're just talking about anything weather-wise and science-related. And so we will put that out next Monday for you. And we will
Thanks, Mark.
get into a podcast next Tuesday. Yeah, thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I am Chief Meteorologist Michael Stevens.
I'm meteorologist Haley Fischetti.
And we will catch you guys all next week.
Yes, have a great day.